Hi, I am Dr. Felice Gersh, your integrative OBGYN, speaking to you from Irvine, California. I am now going to do another segment of my program, Fasting for Women. Now, today I'm going to talk about a subject that I feel incredibly passionate about, and I hope that you will too after you learn all about what I'm going to tell you. But first, for those of you who are new to this program, I want to just introduce myself. So I am, as I said, I'm Dr. Felice Gersh. I am a rare breed. I am one of the only dual certified doctors in both OBGYN and in the new field of integrative medicine. And what that means is I utilize all of the evidence-based therapeutic tools to help all of my patients achieve optimum health and optimal happiness. So that means, of course, I have to think out of the box from conventional medicine. I haven't eschewed the conventional medical world. I still prescribe pharmaceuticals when they're needed. I still do surgeries when they're needed. But I consider them way down the line for chronic conditions, for things that aren't really acute and immediately life-threatening. Because inevitably, at best, the pharmaceuticals deal with symptoms, never with underlying root causes. And that is one of the things that fasting does. That's one of the reasons I love to incorporate fasting in my therapeutic toolbox for so many of my patients, because it really gets to treating the underlying issues that are plaguing so many of us in the society today. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what menopause really is and what it means for women when they go through this very critical chapter of their lives. So the word menopause comes from the Greek. Meno, which sounds so lovely, is the moon, and pause, as you can imagine, means to stop. Or in this case, it's a pause, but it's a forever pause. So that doesn't do justice to what really goes on in a woman's body when she transfers from a reproductive female into a sterile female. We think of menopause as solely about the end of cycles and fertility. And of course it is about that. But it is about so much more. Because, and this is so not thought about, the reproductive functions of the female body are completely interlinked with all of the metabolic functions. And the hormone that glues them all together is estrogen in the form of estradiol, the key estrogen produced by ovaries of reproductively functioning younger women. So when women lose their ovarian function, and that is really what menopause is, it should be renamed. It should be called ovarian senescence, the aging and the end of functioning in terms of cycling and producing eggs and therefore estrogen and progesterone by the ovaries. This has tremendous implications for the overall health of every single woman. Now, the way I look at it, when a woman enters menopause, the way she deals with menopause from both a physical and psychological point of view depends on how she's lived the earlier part of her life. If she ends up and she has not done a good job, or unfortunately she lived in an environment that was really toxic, both psychologically toxic with toxic people, toxic food, toxic air pollution, and so forth, things totally out of her control. But whether it's intentional, unintentional, if she has not had a healthy life and then she hits menopause, essentially she has little reserve. So it's kind of like, think about it like this. You have an airplane and it is a single engine plane. The engine goes out. Now, that plane could go in a total nosedive and crash. And that is what some women do when they enter menopause, because they have literally no reserve. Their health is not good to begin with. Other women, that plane is transformed into a glider. And instead of nosediving and crashing, she goes into a slight dip and just gradually goes down. But it's still a smooth ride. Eventually, she will hit the ground. But it's not a catastrophic nosedive crash. And it takes a long time to get to hit the ground. My goal is not to turn women into immortals. I do not have that power. But to make it so that menopause for every woman turns into a smooth glide, not a nosedive. So we can talk in the future about how to be healthy at the moment you reach menopause. And I'd like to also have you think of menopause into the process of ovarian senescence. It's a gradual aging. Just like fertility declines with age, so does ovarian production of hormones decline with age. And although we have it as a hard stop when the cycles have ended for 1 year, that's the official definition of menopause, in reality, it's a process. And we never know when that last egg is gone, when the last bit of estrogen is produced by the ovary. We never know that. All we can know is when cycles stop. That's it. And that doesn't mean the ovaries have completely stopped functioning at that moment. It just means that ovulation has stopped. So, what happens after menopause, and how can fasting be a tool to help with ameliorating the harms that inevitably come with menopause? Now, I know some people like to put a positive spin on menopause, and I love to be a positive, optimistic thinker. That's why I look for solutions to problems. But if you're not honest about what something is, then you're never going to find proper solutions. So menopause is the beginning. Of course, think of it as menopausal transition. The process of ovarian decline is a process of metabolic decline for women. And what does that mean when I say metabolic decline? Metabolism is about the production, distribution, creation, and storage of energy, the spark of life. You know that we're electrical, energetic creatures when you have the heart stop on an EKG, or you have no more brain waves on an EEG. That's brain death, that's heart death, that's body death. When you cannot make energy, you cannot be alive. When you make energy, but you make it poorly, you are alive, but you are not optimally healthy. In order to produce energy optimally, you need to have estrogen. That is a fact. There are these little energy producing structures in every cell. They are called mitochondria. If you do not have mitochondrial function that's optimal, you cannot optimally make energy. In order for mitochondria to function optimally, you need estradiol. It's as simple as that. Very few people recognize this as a fact. It's all over the PubMed. If you can find articles, you can go to Google Scholar. You'll have to trust me until you do your own research. You need estradiol for optimal functioning of mitochondria. You need optimally functioning mitochondria for optimal energy production and optimal health. When you have optimal mitochondrial function, it means you can burn fat well. Women after menopause are not good at burning fat, and therefore they tend to accumulate fat. It's a very different skill set to acquire and store fat and to burn fat. Most of us are incredibly great at producing and storing fat. But as we age, and unfortunately now even in younger people, we are not very competent at burning fat and making energy. That's why old people, they go to the park and they sit on the bench, not because they love sitting on a bench, but because their energy level is low. So they don't run around the park like the little kids who have high mitochondrial function and high production of energy. By the way, little kids make energy, of course. They make estrogen on site in their cells. It's not that they're estrogen deficient. In fact, the brain is one of the big estrogen producers of the body. That's another big complicated discussion, but you can't make estrogen in the brain well or in other tissues well after menopause because women are designed to get a dominant amount of their estrogen from their ovaries, and the other organs that can make estrogen do not pick up the slack after menopause. So, after menopause, women live in a body that is less capable of producing energy, but totally capable of making and storing fat. This is one of the areas that fasting can be so beneficial for. The other thing that is very important is that after menopause, the immune cells of women become hypersensitive to any inflammatory stimulus. What does that mean? It means that there are estrogen receptors, also not well recognized, on every immune cell of the body. The innate immune cells, the mast cells, the macrophages, the neutrophils, the cells that are the primary protectors of the body against an invading pathogen or when there's damage to the body from trauma, they go into action to create an inflammatory response to help kill the bacteria, clean up the trauma, and bring us back to a state of homeostasis, of fundamental health. Now, estrogen, in the form of estradiol, is actively working to keep those immune cells properly functioning. Now, you can also think of them as weapons of mass destruction. For example, a mast cell, the first responder of all the innate immune cells, comes equipped with inflammatory products, inflammatory cytokines like tumor necrosis factor alpha. It's the only cell that has preformed inflammatory cytokines like that inside the cell. It has histamine, it has substance P, it has all these inflammatory products prepackaged, and it has little receptors called toll-like receptors that can recognize every type of problem that happens in the body, whether it's a parasite, a bacteria, a virus, a trauma, any kind of invader or injury. The mast cells recognize it and respond by exploding, releasing chemokines, which call in the troops, and all these inflammatory products. After menopause, the mast cells are less regulated, and therefore they will explode with their inflammatory contents at a lower level of stimulus. On top of that, after menopause, the microbial population, we call the gut microbiome, changes into an abnormally bad population of microbes. We call that dysbiosis. And what happens is you get leaky gut, and toxins from inside the gut called endotoxins or lipopolysaccharides actually leak out where all these immune cells are lining the gut, called the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, and there are mast cells, and they explode with their inflammatory contents. This creates a state of total body inflammation, involving inflammation in the vascular system, in the brain. This is in the bones, and it is inflammation, chronic inflammation, that underlies so many of the conditions that we call aging. That's why someone very smart and clever coined the term inflammaging. About inflammation is aging. This is what happens in women after menopause. They have this inflammaging, and they have a poor ability to burn fat and create energy. So what does this lead to? Visceral obesity, lots of obesity in the mid portion. So women hate it. They say, my body is morphing. I'm eating the right foods. I'm exercising. Of course, that's not true for everyone, but even those who do, they say, I'm trying so hard, and yet I keep putting weight on around my middle. My cute hourglass shape is changing. I feel like I'm SpongeBob. I'm tired. I don't feel well, my joints ache, I'm having mood problems and sleep problems because of inflammation in the joints. That's osteoarthritis, which is more prominent in women than men. I have problems with my focus, my memory, I have brain fog. Dementia occurs 3 times as often in females as in men, and all this is happening. Our conventional medical system pretty much ignores it and drugs women with sleeping pills and pain pills and antidepressants, and not addressing the underlying problem, which is poor ability to create energy, and this low-grade chronic state of inflammation. Guess what? Fasting to the rescue. Now, I have to tell you, I love estrogen. You probably guessed that by now. Any of you who know me know that when I give quizzes at my lectures, the answer is always estrogen. So everyone will leave knowing estrogen is neuroprotective, estrogen is cardioprotective, estrogen is bone protective. The answer is always estrogen. After menopause, estrogen goes down. So sad for us. Now, nature does not want us females to be reproducing endlessly for all the years of our lives. I get it. Why would we have babies when we're in our 60s or 70s? I just couldn't figure it. Why did it have to take away our estrogen as well as our ability to reproduce? Well, that's just how it is. In most creatures on this planet, when they can no longer reproduce, guess what happens? They die. At least we're the lucky ones that get to live, but we do live long, but we don't live well as a generality. Of course there are exceptions. I'm just talking about the statistics. Now, if a woman takes physiologic doses of estradiol and progesterone after menopause, she improves her odds of living better. I cannot say living longer. I have no data on that. But I can tell you, even the North American Menopause Society now endorses the use of estrogen indefinitely for, believe it or not, quality of life. So everything fits into quality of life. If you are tired, that's not a good quality of life. If you can't sleep, if you're achy, if you're depressed, all of those things are poor quality of life. So estrogen to the rescue. But also fasting to the rescue, because guess what? Even when I prescribe hormones to my menopausal and transitional patients, I cannot give them the exact competent estrogen, the ratios, the way it's put out, the way ovaries do it. I can't really replace the ovaries. I am giving the best substitute I can, but it's not the same. I still can't replicate the exact function of a healthy 25-year-old's ovaries. And guess what? Nobody can. We don't have artificial ovaries yet. We don't have estrogen pumps. So we do the best we can. We concoct things to try to replicate nature, but we're not getting all the way there. But we do the best we can. So we need to we need to harness every tool we can to improve our metabolic state. Because remember, metabolism is about having energy that sparks the excellent function of every organ in our bodies. So how does fasting work? We have data that when you fast, if you have estrogen on board, I am 100% sure everything with fasting will work better. Do I have data? No, I have science. Of course, I want there to be tons of studies on menopausal women and fasting with and without estrogen replacement and different doses of the hormones. They don't exist. The interest of our research scientists has not been there. Hormones have not been on the radar of very many people. It's very sad for menopausal women because we have been left out of most studies, and it's just the way it is. I'm trying to change things. Believe me, I'm working so hard to get the people who actually have the power, the money, and the wherewithal to start doing studies involving women, hormones, and menopause, and all different aspects of treatment, including fasting. But we do have science, and we have lots of rat studies. I know rats are not humans, but we have to work off of the best data we have, because we have to make decisions. Remember, doing nothing is also a decision. But we do have data that shows that fasting helps to burn visceral fat. Women in menopause desperately need to control the storage and production of visceral fat. We need to be able to burn it. Fasting enables our mitochondria to work better and to actually burn visceral fat, and not just burn visceral fat, but preserve lean body mass. We do not want to go on some kind of a crazy diet and lose our muscle our tendons, our ligaments. We cannot afford at this stage of life, at any, but especially this stage of life, to lose our critical lean body mass. Fasting helps to preserve it. And that has been also shown with the fasting mimicking diet, the one that I support, and I have always wanted to be totally transparent. I also am a speaker for them. That's the company that produces Prolon, that's L-Nutra. But there's plenty of data if you want to do other forms of fasting and time-restricted eating that we've talked about, that it helps to promote the function of mitochondria so that you can burn fat. And when you do short little fasts, like maybe 3 to 5 days, or the fasting mimicking diet for 5 days, that has been shown to preserve lean body mass while burning visceral fat. And not just any visceral fat, also fatty liver contents, that fat that accumulates so commonly, it's such an epidemic in the liver. Isn't that great to burn fat in our liver and help avoid or to reverse fatty liver? When you have a fatty liver, you get gluconeogenesis, that's production of sugar out of control, production of cholesterol and fats, triglycerides out of control. You do not want a wild out of control liver to complement your wild out of control immune cells. That is what happens to women in menopause when they don't do the right things to help their bodies. And the right things, as I see it, is to take physiologic dosing of hormones, to do fasting. Of course, this needs to be checked with your own physician because I don't know you. You may have some contraindication, but so I'm talking in general terms. But of course, everyone should be cleared by their own physicians for all of these things. Find a doctor who is familiar with these things, because you don't want to have a naysayer who says, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound good to me. The data is there. You want to find someone that you can work with. So you want to, if you're an appropriate candidate, to incorporate the physiologic levels and doses of hormones, fasting, and then of course everything else: exercise, mind-body medicine, sleep, stress control, and of course proper nutrition with whole real foods, emphasizing a plant-based diet. So all of those things are what I incorporate in my program for personal and patient longevity. So what else can fasting do? There's data to show that fasting can increase brain growth factors like brain-derived neurotrophic factor. How great is that? I mentioned that without proper energy, your brain isn't going to work properly. And in fact, as I mentioned, women have a much higher risk of developing dementia compared to men. And not just dementia, because it's also linked to mood. Women have much higher rates of depression and anxiety compared to males. These are linked to menopause. Of course, it can happen at other stages of life. Women who have had depression earlier in life, after menopause, their risk of getting depression again is 4 times the risk of others. So just know, menopause is a challenging time for a woman's body. We need to harness every innate mechanism we can so that the last part of our lives, which could be a third or even a half of our lives, is actually a time of quality life, because just living isn't enough. Certainly not for me, and I'm sure not for you. We want to have quality life, and that's what fasting can do. And here's another thing. Fasting can lower inflammation in the body. So every bad thing that happens after menopause can help to be corrected or at least ameliorated by fasting. So you can lower that chronic level of systemic inflammation. You can improve the way you feel, the way you think by increasing brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You can reduce visceral fat and fatty liver. If that's not enough to convince you, then I will keep trying, because this is the key to healthy longevity. Menopause is inevitable. I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said, you can't beat it. This is going to happen. It's inevitable. Taxes and death. He was a guy. If he were a female, he would have said taxes, death, and menopause. No matter what, we gals will experience menopause. And take it from me, one who is honest, and I'm there, by doing the right lifestyle things, incorporating hormones and fasting, you can maintain healthy longevity and quality of life for a very long time. So until next time, stay safe, stay well. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.